Johnny and Justin were two simple Imagineers at Disneyland until they dared to ask the question,
Hey, Justin, is Disney diverse?
Well, Johnny, I'm not.
Oh no, we've angered the mouse!
Stormtroopers, run!
Holy crap, it's a gathering of cookies!
Now, from undisclosed locations within the Disney park, Johnny and Justin record a podcast where they seek to answer the question, is the Disney catalog diverse?
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Disney+Diversity. I'm Johnny.
Buongiorno, I'm Justin.
Oh, mi amore!
Oh.
And as you know, here on Disney+Diversity, we review the Disney catalog to see how diverse and inclusive it actually is. And on today, we have a very special episode because, as you just heard from Justin, today we're going across the seas. Today we're going to Italy. Today we review Luca. Woo! Okay, so jumping into it, we'll just talk about like our initial thoughts, like again, everything like that. Jump into it. Justin, what you think of it when we first saw it?
Honestly, at the end of the day, when my initial reaction with the film is, Pixar tends to have this like general sheen of what you expect out of a Pixar movie. So I think the general Pixar-y things still overall work, but now I am at a point with the company that I'm seeing these things come in a mile away now. So some of the stuff doesn't work on me as well as they used to. So I found some of the movie to be very formulaic. I went, okay, I think I know where that's going. But if there's anything about Pixar that no one can deny is that they're visual artists. The film is gorgeous. You know, the character designs are great. I want to eat the food that they're eating. I want to visit the locations they want to visit. That is what their strengths are. And they do no emotional stuff. That is something that they're generally good at. But overall, yeah, it's not my favorite thing they've done, but I found some things to enjoy. There are some things that I found like, oh, that's interesting. How about you, Johnny?
Same. Like, again, like you said, we're kind of used to the Pixar form at this point because we've seen it so many times. But all in all, like, I give them credit. Like here, I was kind of taken by surprise because this movie is so gay. And it's so gay in the best possible ways. Like, gay is already great, but I was like, oh my gosh. It was like unexpectedly gay, which kind of took me by. I was like, wait, is this like an allegory for like a gay like love story between these two boys? And I was like, look at you being progressive. Look at you and dropping it during June. Look at you doing Pride Month. Oh, and by the way, if you didn't know, we're doing our series of Pride Month episodes. If I could, there'd be a rainbow right here. Shout out to our LGBTI community. You know, we got love for you. And we have a whole series of things we'll be doing, and we'll be starting off with Luca. And so, yeah, so all in all, like, I was really impressed. And I'm excited to talk about it. Like, I'm really excited to talk about it. I would say before we jump to it, Justin, you might give us a quick breakdown, like what it's about.
Yeah, Luca is a story about a young sea monster, I guess you can say, by the name of Luca, and his friendship with another sea monster by the name of Alberto. And basically, it's the story of their friendship in the Italian Riviera, and kind of what blossoms from their unique friendship, and in terms of integrating themselves with the humans of the world. That's the basic stuff. That's all you kind of really need to know. There's a thing about a race, which is fun, but like outside of that, it is the general story between these two characters and their fear of being outed. And on who they are as they're hiding who they truly are to the humans. Now, Johnny, I do want to point something out with you. Obviously, you're telling folks that it's Pride Month and you get Happy Pride. And I know we're a little late on Pride stuff, unlike the Black History Month and Asian American Month, but we'll address that in a future episode of the show. Don't worry about it. But one of the things I want to point out is that, yes, let's be clear, Luca isn't outright saying it's a queer story. It's not. But it is one of those things, and we can even talk about this with our guest in that future episode, but it is one of those things where if you watch the story, yes, there is something that you can read it as a queer story. And a lot of people were even joking. I think I saw this online. So we were joking that it's Call Me by Your Name via Pixar. If you don't know Call Me by Your Name, it's the film with the amazing film with Timothée Chalamet and co-star I will not be naming at this point because of his extremely problematic stuff. But but that people made the joke. Oh, it's because it's set in Italy and it's the story of a relationship between a young trying to figure themselves boy and his relationship with an older boy that blossoms into something about figuring themselves out. That's a very base version of Call Me by Your Name. It's way more complex than that. I want to be clear, but I can see why people want to say, "Oh, it's like the Pixar version of it." It's as a joke, but it's not officially. I don't want to state that, but I want to point out that I think when you and me were talking about this film initially, it's like there is stuff that you can look into and see. And see that kind of correlation. Johnny, what's something that you want to bring up about that?
Well, for me, because I agree with you, it's like when I start watching, I was like, wow, this is so gay. But the thing about it is though, is that like it's not outwardly, but the thing about it is I feel like it's an allegory. Because I was talking about this like with a friend of mine, like after watching, I was like, I feel like they feel this is the best they can do at this current time period. And because part of me wants to like just make a gay Pixar Disney film.
Of course.
This would be so dope. And we see it like a great children's animation revolution, and we see another programming like Adventure Time and Steven Universe, which are not afraid to go out there and boom, put out on Front Street. And like, no, these are queer stories. And so with Disney and Pixar, I feel like this is them dipping their toe into the water. And for me, I feel like this is more of an allegorical queer story, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because again, like for those who aren't familiar, again, an English teacher, an allegory is, again, we tell one story on the surface, but there's another story happening entirely underneath. And there's so many nuances here where it's like, this is like hitting like a lot of the markers of it. So we usually don't go like in sequential order, but we can kind of talk about some things like this. I kind of want to keep the conversation there and talk about like all these moments they put in here to kind of show this as being like this like queer story in a way.
Right.
So what's dope is like the movie opens up where we meet Luca, and again he's like this like cool kid who's just trying to like be a good kid for his like parents, everything like that. And it gives you Little Mermaid vibes in the beginning where you see that he's scared of the surface world.
Right.
And parents say stay away because we can't trust the monsters or whatever.
But he's also fascinated by the surface world, so he can't help himself.
Exactly. He wants to be where the people are.
Yeah.
But
I want to be where the people are. I want to see them dancing.
But the thing about it is though, but he gets intrigued by this and everything. But his parents are like say, no, gotta stay away, it's dangerous. But then later on, this leads to him while he just swimming around doing his like usual duties, he meets his friend Alberto. And Alberto don't give no cares. Alberto's going back and forth between the human world and the surface like all the time. And that's one of the cool things about this movie is that when they exit the water, there's no like, magical trident like from Little Mermaid. They just exit the water and automatically become human. And so, boom. So Bruno's able to do that. And then all of a sudden, Luca's able to do that.
No, we say no to Bruno.
We say no to Bruno. But so it's really cool. So then he gets to go out and like start experiencing the world with his friend. Like they want to ride Vespas and go on these adventures, everything like that. And he's having a blast because you can tell that Luca's like this really inquisitive kid. But when his parents find out though, again, this is where kind of like you get those little nuances there. They're like, look, you can't go to the service world. We don't want you hanging around that other boy. And so we're going to send you away. And it's like, wait, what? Then we're going to send you away to go live with your uncle at the bottom of the deep and like the dark and everything like that. And when I saw that, I was like, holy shit. Like, why is this giving me like when they send like, LGBTQI youth to like conversion camps and everything like that? Like that really struck with me when I saw that. And so that really touched. Like, what'd you think about when you saw it?
No, same thing. I feel like it's hard to not see that correlation and allegory the way you're describing. in this story, whether it was intentional or not, I want to believe it is. That's because I want to believe in the good intentions of storytellers like this, like the writer director Enrico Casarosa. I want to believe that maybe they were intentionally going there, and if they weren't, I mean, they're obviously at the end of the day, I think we are past allegory stories, just straight up tell outright stories about queer stories, and hopefully even and arguably you should let queer people tell those stories. But regardless of that, and if you're we're still at a point, if you're just kind of finding it, it's really not impossible to see that in this movie. Like you said, like that storyline about the idea, throwing the idea of Luca staying with his uncle, voiced by Sacha Baron Cohen, as that weird translucent thing, but it is obviously a not accepting your child story, or not letting your child be who they are and denying that and forcing them to be air quotes normal. Now I do feel like the thing here is that, while we're saying this, like one of my problems with it, I will say, is that but it's a story we have seen Disney explore in other movies, and I think this is where I am hitting the mild Pixar wall. In that the Pixar wall is, for me, I'm at a point where I'm like, I get it. This story is about a member of a society who is tired of or denying or not wanting to be a part of being that a member of society, denying who they are, or wanting more, not in the Princess I Wish way, but something else kind of way, and looking past who they are and wanting and connecting with people in a different
Have we seen a movie like this before? Call for Bug's Life. Have we seen a movie like this before? Call for Little Mermaid. So continue, Justin.
Yes, we got a little. It's a little. Sorry, it seemed like it was a little scratchy. It was a little scratchy there. It's really interesting. It's okay. It's like just move on. And it's just so weird. I don't know where that's coming from. And I'm not knocking on those stories per se, but I do feel like we are at a point where, okay, I get it, I know. And then, like, spoilers obviously, but it's like I'm sitting there like, and then the parents will be fine with him, and they'll probably integrate themselves into the village, and they will everything will be fine. And like, listen, I'm at the end of the day, being predictable isn't bad, but I am at a point where I'm like, what would have made this story even more unique is, someone either realized or the filmmakers intended on just outright making it a proper queer story.
I feel you. And I think that's what they struggle with, because the thing about it is that, like, and it's interesting because we were jumping around. I kind of want to address that when we get to the end, because there's a quote that the grandmother says that I kind of feel addresses why they didn't make a queer story, and we can talk about that.
Right.
It adds that queer allegory, because again, like, so when I keep saying Bruno because I think about Bruno the Kid, one of my favorite TV shows. Such a good show.
The one based off of Bruce Willis.
Yes, it's so hilarious. It's so dope. Yeah. But so what ends up happening is that and so just like a lot of LGBTQI youth, when they're like forced to go to these conversion camps or they're not accepted by their family, they run away. That's the reason why there's a high statistic where like a lot of the homeless population, especially for runaways, are LGBTQI, which is which is like very sad. And again, they're just running away because their families are accepting for who they are. So Luca and Alberto decide to run away to the village because there they can find Mr. Vespa and they can ride Vespas and everything like that. And then when they get there, that's when they meet Juliana. Now this is really cool because Juliana becomes their friend, and they're gonna they bond with Juliana. They're gonna go race in the race together and everything like that. But this is where I kind of get to this point where it's like, you kind of take like Juliana's dope, but this is one of my criticisms of the film comes to play, is that you're doing this dope job of telling this kind of like queer story with these two youth right here, and then Juliana shows up and she's dope, but I'm like, bam, you're not passing the Bechdel test.
Yeah. Like,
who's Juliana getting to talk to here? Right. And you do some really dope stuff here too, because we meet Juliana's dad, who has one arm, and he's like, later on Alberto was like staring at it, like, how'd you lose your arm? And he's like, I'll see monster ate it. Huh? He's like, no, I'm joking. I was born this way. But what's cool is though is that his dad is still capable. His dad is able to still go through everything like that. Still a great father figure. He's seen as one of the strongest people in the village and everything like that. I'm like, that is so dope. You included somebody here who's like again, that represent like people who are part of like our population, who are like again like or like disabled in some way or some whatnot. So you're giving that representation there. But then with Juliana, it's like, fam, you're not passing the Bechdel test here because who's Juliana going to talk to? You got this dope female character here who's a badass. She goes against stereotypes. She's smart. She's intelligent. She's outspoken. She's amazing. She's a great female role model, but she barely gets to talk to another woman.
Right.
And so it's like, oh, it was like you dropped the ball there because again, you're telling this great queer story. But again, just giving Juliana just another female figure to talk to, or even could have been her rival or something like that. She could be going against because we do see the villain here. Like, what's the villain's name here? The guy who's
the little fucking mustached
the
little
catfish dude. Yeah,
catfish kid. Hold on, I'll look him up really quick.
I would call him the catfish kid, but he's like 35, hanging around these children.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly. Is it Ikroli? I forgot. I'll keep looking. Anyway, keep going.
Okay. Oh yeah, it's Arcoli Visitoni. And here's the thing: I'm going to apologize to our Italian American community, and right now that we need to work better pronouncing these names. But that is one of the dope things about this film. It represents Italian culture very well. Like it's a mixture of the language, where they're not just speaking English; they're speaking actual Italian a lot of different times and everything like that. So it's a beautiful blending and like exposure to the Italian culture and heritage.
Right.
I was like, this is so awesome. This is a great diversity right here because you're telling the story for these people. But yeah, if they started taking a curly and made that to like again, made that a woman. That's a simple fix right there. Where again, she's having all these conversation interactions with her rival. They're talking about different things. They're talking about the race. And again, we get the pass the Bechdel test. But that's kind of the problem there is that it's those simple things right there that give more female exposure and allow more women to have parts in these types of films.
I think that's a really good point, especially with that character, because I think I hit the wall. I hit a wall with that character for sure. Because it's one of those things where I'm like, I've seen this guy. I've seen this guy in multiple movies, too many movies. It's the arrogant boy. He's basically the Johnny LaRusso of the story. He's always got lackeys that we all know. At the end of this movie, they're gonna say, you know what? It took the events of this movie for me to realize that I've been abused in this relationship. Why are we still talking to you? And I'm just kind of over it. I am, but it would have been better if the character was a female character, like you said, and I think that would have been a big improvement on that because of the factor that like it's a dynamic that you don't get that makes it very specific to Julia, and it does allow you to kind of look at that character as a reflection of her, like in one way in that regard, but just comes off as very standard, and I think that is one of my writing issues with the film is that like it's too standard for its own good.
They use another like it's used sure like a metaphor, but it's like allegory, like a reference to like in a way it's too paint by numbers.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, and the thing about Pixar is, I agree with you. Pixar is very amazing storytelling, and if everybody's ever seen, they have like a list out, like like the Pixar questions you ask yourself as you're making a story. Writers use it all the time. Right. It's really great. It's like again, it gives advice about how to construct a well-oriented story. Right. But this one again felt like, as you said, like too paint by numbers. We kept getting all these parts. The thing that just kept me engaged again was the queer allegory because again, I was a bit amazed I was seeing this, and that was a dope thing. Like again, because there's other parts again going back to the allegory we see later on because. Later on, there's a point where it's like Alberto becomes jealous of the relationship that Luca's forming with Juliana. Yeah. And he's like, because again, that's his best friend. And for a long time, Alberto's been on his own. And so this is like first friend. They've drawn this connection. They've gone really close. And again, so it's like really dope to see. But there's this point where he's like getting jealous of the relationship, which again is kind of interesting to see because a lot of times you see this with romantic interest and things along those lines. Not always just with friendships. So at one point, Alberto's like, she'll never accept us. You can't go to school. You can't do all these things you want to do with Juliana. Again, we're sea monsters. She will not accept us. And then while Alberto reveals himself to be a sea monster to her, she says, oh no, get back. And then he's like, look, Luca, you see? And Luca's like, no, sea monster. And he's like, what? And in a way, Luca's denying a part of himself. Right. And he looks like, wait, you're denying, and not only that, but he's also denying Alberto all in the same breath and everything like that, which causes a temporary separation. Right. And it's dope right there because in a way it kind of references like what happens to the LGBTI community because again, we see the whole like when you come out and versus being in the closet and coming out is so hard to do.
Right.
Because you want some
Right.
other people who trust you, who are going to
Mhm.
embrace you or whatnot. But again, Luca was in that place. Plus, again, he was scared. He was scared of Juliana's reaction. He was scared of losing her, which again is a general fear that people feel when again we're not LGBTQ ourselves. And then everything that I'm saying right now, I'm basing upon like things I've read and people's like experience that they told me. But again, it's like when it comes out, it's a very emotional experience.
Yeah.
And you hopefully when it comes to people who are going to trust you, embrace you for that. And so again, we see those allegorical elements right there. It was like, damn, y'all really telling the story like this.
Right. No, 100%. And I do feel like that allegory hits hard with that scene for sure. You know, the idea that like Alberto is more comfortable with himself, and is tired of hiding, right? Tired of hiding, and was hoping that he found a companion that he didn't have to hide the same way. Luca is still in denial of what he truly wants and how he wants to get there, and obviously, you know, worried about losing the friendship that he's developed with Julia. And yeah, no, I think that stuff it's hard to deny. You know, it's hard to deny. It's hard to deny that. It's hard to not see that in the storytelling. It's hard to not feel that that's what they're, you know, that the allegory is there, even if intentional or not. And I do feel like that's kind of where I feel like where we are at, though, where it's like I'm going to state it again. I'm just sort of tired of, if this was a allegory and you didn't want to lay it out, I'm at a point. It's time, guys. It's time to lay it out. I mean, it's because I think the relationship is very sweet. I do like the relationship between Luca and Alberto. I think there is, you know, it's very it makes sense to me. I think their connection makes sense to me. And yeah, by the end of the film, I definitely got I got that Disney emotional again when everything rolled out. So it's like I thought I wasn't going to. It's like, oh, this movie's all right. Then I got to the last scene and I'm like, you know, it's damn it.
Justin, same. I was over here bawling tears. I was over here bawling tears as I watched. It's like, are you serious right now? Because again, to jump ahead a little bit, at some point, Luke and Alberto do come together. They race the race, everything like that. And at one point, Luca's forced to like show everybody who he truly is.
Yeah.
And he'll go out, and everyone sees he's a sea monster. And again, he comes out. And he embraces that and everything like that. And it's crazy. And it's so dope and everything. And they finish the race. And then when they get down there, everyone's coming out. Then they find out other members of the town were also, again, in the closet. Sorry, not in the closet, but again, they were hiding their identity. And now they're coming out showing that they're sea monsters as well.
Yeah.
Characters we saw at the beginning of the movie is like, oh, that old couple that walked by us right there, boom, they were sea monsters, didn't even know it. Right. And again, so it's it's like, it just shows you, again, like anybody can be part of the LGBT community. And again, anybody can be a sea monster. Again, it's all allegorical. So it's all like, again, it's dope to see. And again, at the end of the movie, like, again, it's like Luca realizes a lot of his dreams. He's been accepted by these people. He gets to go to school. Same. I'm volunteers. I'm like, I can't believe like this all came together like this. But as you said, it's very paint by numbers. And again, why couldn't they just why couldn't they just make him just straight up gay and put this out on Front Street?
Right.
And for me, I think it goes back to the quote the grandmother says at the end. At the end of the movie, grandmother says a quote where like the parents are like worried about Luca, and they say it's like, well, he wants to be part of this world, and the mom's like, yeah, but not everybody's going to accept him. And the grandmother says something along the lines of like, yeah, not everyone's going to accept him, but some will, and he seems pretty good at finding those who will accept him.
Which I like a lot. That's a beautiful sentiment. Here's the thing, and we're going to address this I'm hinting at our future episode that we haven't got even recorded yet. But we're going to address the concept of queer baiting in a future episode. And I want us to put a pin on the discussion for this film. And hopefully our guests will have seen it. If not, it's okay. But like, I think this is a film where we can even, like someone could accuse this film of queer baiting. And that is something that we, again, that is something we can't address here because it's not yours and mine's place to say it. But if you're watching us, if you've been watching us every week, and again, appreciate it, then I want you to know that we're gonna address that later because I do feel like this is a good film to ask that question: is Luca queer baiting?
Yeah.
Whether it's intentional or not, if it is, then we have to start figuring out a way to actually like address it and say, all right, could you quit it?
Yeah, and to be honest, and again, as we do this show, we always say we're not the experts.
We're not.
We're having conversations, and we're just trying to educate and like do what we can.
Right.
And so again, I look forward to when we call somebody on, we can like give their opinion and elaborate. Who knows this a little bit more than I do, than you do, the both of us. But when I watch this, I gotta be like, damn, I gotta give y'all credit for doing a good job. It's weird.
Yeah.
Because I'm so happy that y'all told the story, because like legit, as I was watching this and turning over there, and I was like, if I had a kid, I would want to show them this movie, definitely. Because again, just to show them like, look, if you ever want to come out or anything like that, just like know your dad loves you. I'm going to accept you, and it doesn't matter. Like, we're cool like that. Just to like, and to show them again, there's other types of relationships out there. It's not always like heterosexual. Like there are homosexual relationships as well. To show them again, there's different possibilities. And so I give them credit. And it's funny, I was talking to a friend of ours, a previous guest, Shanice Christmas, because I want to get her ideas of some of this, like what I saw here. And she even said her daughter watched it, and her daughter watched it twice. And her daughter loves the movie, and it's like dope. And it's like resonating with kids and everything like that. And her daughter's like young, about 6, 7. So it's good to see that kids are liking this film.
Absolutely.
Now the thing about it is that the film does have some problems.
It does
that
have
we
problems.
Kind of talk about. And so one thing that kind of came up as I was watching this, and I want to get your opinion on it, it was like the race factor of this film. Because it takes place. Because it takes place in like somewhere between like the 1940s to 60s in Italy. And the thing about this is like post World War II, like somewhere around that time period and whatnot. And so the thing about this is that Italy does have diversity coming. So that's the reason I hit up Shanice Christmas. As y'all know, Shanice is a history historian. She knows a lot about, and she like put me up on game. She explained to me that during this time period, there was a lot of immigration happening because you had some Americans who are still there after the war. You had Jewish people who were like navigating there. You had Africans who were going to Italy and whatnot. And what she also brought up is like the colorism that exists within this episode as well. Because the thing about this was that like the fact is that within Italy itself, there's dark-skinned Italians. Again, a lot of times, like the Sicilians are considered to be like dark-skinned Italians, where they can get as like dark as myself sometimes. So when you look at the background characters of this film, though, you don't see anybody that dark.
That's totally fair. Yeah.
So in a way, it's not really calling this out and saying that you're being racist. This isn't a race issue, because I get what you're trying to do. This is more of an issue, I would say, in my personal opinion, colorism.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because,
I think that's something that's not addressed a lot. That actually isn't addressed quite a lot, because especially Filipino community actually has a very similar thing about that of, I'm not going to take too long on it, but there was a thing where it's like, if you're, it's not even just Filipino community, it's Southeast Asians, Filipinos, Indians, they've had the same issue of dealing with the darker your skin is a reflection of this about you. The lighter your skin is a reflection of this about you. And that I think could still bleed into this discussion with Luca, because it's the same deal. You're totally right. All the characters are very fair skinned, mildly tan at best if you want to be generous. But the reality is, you're totally 100% correct. There are and have been and will always be darker skinned Italian folks, Sicilians, etc. And it does seem like that it's not racism, but it is a thing that we want to. A lot, again, representation always matters. And the amount of times I've heard stories about, people talking about, well, I know that movie had a lot of Latinx characters, but no one looked like darker skin like my grandma or me, as an example, like something like that. Or
wait, sorry, which movie?
No, as an example. Like I'm just saying, okay. like to throw as an example, like let's say a film is animated or is filmed in a Latinx community, and someone might even rightfully point out the fact that, that's great, and I'm very happy for that. But my grandma is really dark skinned. She's not represented in the film. I'm really dark skinned. I'm not really seen in that movie. I would like to see more of that. To be cast, etc. That in itself is almost a separate episode for us altogether. But it's good to at least address it in something like this, where it's like, I think it's good to put a little highlight and go, hey, FYI, we gotta start thinking bigger,
Exactly. The cool thing about it is that they actually do a good job of it. Because like when I saw that, I was discussing this with Shneed. For example, Ray the Last Dragon does an amazing job of this.
Absolutely.
As we talked about during our review, again, it was cool because you see all these different shades of women, where it's like you easily say like, it's like you watch, it's a kid watching this and like, oh, that's me. And that girl can be any shade. It can be a black girl, Latinx girl, an Asian American girl. They can all watch Ray the Last Dragon and find somebody to connect with, and that's dope. Same thing can be said for Coco. Coco does an amazing job of showing this like broad spread of like different shades of brown and whatnot. Again, because the Latinx community, Mexican Americans also have that same range as well. And so they have done this job before. And again, we're not just calling out to try to bash you. It's just something we're saying is that that's just something that you can improve upon as you do this. Just like we talked about with the Bechdel test and the fact that, again, that Juliana doesn't have anybody to talk to, that's kind of a dropping of the ball right there. But there are things to be praised here in this movie, too. Like, I'm going to go back to it. I do love the fact that we get to see the Italian-American, not every time, but an Italian Pixar film, and it's really dope to see that culture represented. Just like what we saw with Coco, seeing aspects of Mexican culture and whatnot. And Luca, you get to see so much Italian culture here, from the food to the language, the culture, the Vespas, seeing like the island life and everything like that out there in that lower Mediterranean area. It's beautiful to see.
No, agreed. All right, Johnny, I think it's time to do our rankings. It's time to do our ratings. Johnny.
Okay,
well, go ahead and tell the audience.
so as you know, here on Disney+Diversity, we rate the Disney catalog to see how diverse and inclusive it is. So we're going to rank it as woke, meaning that's doing amazing things, progressive, moving everything along. Wakey me is doing a good job, but it drops the ball in some areas. Or sleeping shit was like, this was problematic. This is about to help people back. And so we're going to be right back after this.
When the fate of the free world is at stake, there's only one super secret agent for the job.
His name rhymes with you know.
He's licensed for laughs, and his code name is Bruno.
Bruno the Kid!
Bruno the Kid, the delightfully charming and highly successful television series, is now on home video.
Oh, yes!
In an exciting, full-length animated movie created by and starring the voice of international superstar Bruce Willis.
You want to come along?
It's Die Hard movie adventure.
Because I'm planning on ruffling a few feathers.
Wunderbar!
So be on the lookout for action, fun, and worldwide intrigue.
Oh, man, there's a whole lot of shaking going on.
It's a can't-miss full-length animated movie.
Bruno the Kid!
In a highly collectible clamshell package.
I'll give you $50 million for that right now.
No more jokes, Agent Bruno.
Well, don't sweat it.
Bruno the Kid. Get it on home video.
Woo! What's up, everybody? And we are back with our rating to tell you how we rated this. Is either woke, waking, or sleep as shit. Okay, we're going to review our rankings to the camera on 3. You ready, Justin?
Yeah. Let's go.
Okay, here we go. On 1, 2, and 3. Yay, waking. Oh, nice. You drew like the fins and everything on that. I drew a little half human, half monster boy.
That's not bad.
And I put where the women at and dark span people carry about question mark and hashtag gay, hashtag pride. Okay. So you want to explain why you gave it waking?
Yeah. All the things we just said. It's like it does all this stuff. It does feel like a story that you can read as a queer story for all of those reasons that we mentioned, and it is not hard to see that allegory in this film. I feel like you are if you're not seeing the allegory, or you don't see how this can be an allegory for a queer story, you gotta really figure yourself out, because I don't know what's wrong with you. It's right there. You can see it. Whether it's intentional or not, I think it's there. But that's the problem. The fact I keep saying whether it's intentional or not. Easy woke if you just straight up decided to make this a queer story. Easy woke.
Yeah.
100% easy woke. Easiest woke I probably would have ever done. But you keep, like industry isn't ready to do something like this for all ages and all families. And the day that happens, I'll applaud it. But at this moment, not there yet. Yeah. But hey, what's there? You made me cry. I mean, you guys, hey.
No,
it's not a tragedy story. That's another thing.
Yeah,
it's not a tragedy. It's not a tragedy story. I have friends who are queer who have told me multiple times they want to see. They're tired of tragic queer stories. They're tired of it. Absolutely tired of it. They're like, I want a BS happy ending one. I want one of those. I want an easy, lighthearted comedy for fucking once, And so while again it's not flat out a queer story, it's also not a tragic one. And so if you want to read this as a queer story, it ends very, very sweetly. There you go.
Yeah, I agree with you. I gave it and I agree with you. I gave it waking for a couple reasons. Like, one, it did pass the Bechdel test. Juliana is a really dope character. She's awesome. Her dad is really dope. Is a member, the disabled community and everything like that, who's able to do stuff and be part of the story, which is so dope to see. But again, Juliana should have a female character to talk to or play off of, because again, we just need more female representation. It's not that hard. It's really not that hard. Just do the work. to the colorism issue. Because again, within the Italian culture itself, there's documentation and history of, again, like different, like, of colorism, of like it happening and like people being discriminated against, and stereotypes about darker skinned people, about them not being like being them gangsters and not working as hard and like all the stuff and everything like that. So again, by putting those darker skin there, it would have worked against it. Because especially with the fact that when the sea monsters exit out the water, they become human. Yeah. Why do they all come light-skinned, fair humans? And that's the thing right there. If they had exit out, and like for example, like when when Alberto comes out of the water, he could be like, you know, a light-skinned, like white human. But then when Luca comes out, he could have been dark-skinned. Yeah. A Sicilian, like tan color and everything like that. Those are missed opportunities. And then going back to the fact of the queer story, like this is such an allegorical queer story, and it's so dope to see. And again, if I had kids, I would totally show it to them. Yeah. But again, would have pushed over the edges if you just embrace on a queer story, because other places are doing it right now. Like Disney's always kind of like the last to like do this. But again, Steven Universe, Adventure Time, other shows are doing this and doing it really well. It's like, man, I wish y'all would catch up to the game and do this as well.
And there are some queer characters here and there in Disney, to be honest and to be 100% fair, but they're not the focus. Yeah. You know, Steven Universe, the gems are the focus. They are front and center, the focus of the show. I know the show says Steven Universe, but you're going to tell me that Pearl and Amethyst and Garnet are not the equal leads of the show, and all their stories, like specifically Garnet, which represents a queer relationship as one character. You can do it. It's time. So yes, I know there've been plenty of queer characters in Disney. In DuckTales, that was great. We saw like, you know, one character had like two dads. It goes on and on and on. But which one of them are the leads? Yeah. And that's what it comes down to, making those people the leads, because you just said, put them in the leads, give them that exposure. And this is something we're going to continue to explore and talk more about as we kick off Pride Month. So, yeah, so it was, again, I give Luca credit. Brought me the... Please tell me.
Oh, God.
No, tell me it's like a siren or something, and like it's just really busy street. Johnny, just tell me it's...
Now, Justin, we just talked about taking the lead, and I see a white dude in armor leading a bunch of other dudes here to get me. So, stormtroopers are coming up, Justin. Bye.